Hey everybody, this is David with Option Avenue, and today we have Eric Aune. He's going to be discussing his book, The Ripple Effect. Hey Eric, how you doing?
Pretty well.
Good. Let's jump right in. Could you give us a brief summary of your book?
Well, is basically right now our country is actually the world is very interconnected, computers, electricity, satellites. But what would the world be like if all of that suddenly went away, like very quickly? And so with my book, it is a post-apocalyptic, and the apocalypse is not some disease or war. It is a coronal mass ejection, which is plasma ejected from the surface of the sun that travels to Earth and hits it. It's been doing this for millennia. Usually it does nothing. The last biggest event was the Carrington event back in 1859, which caused telegraph offices to explode, the telegraph wires to burn up. Some of the telegraphers were killed when the water acid batteries it exploded in their faces. So this book is telling about what something like that would happen if a coronal mass ejection hit the Earth for 7 days straight. The closest we have was Montreal in 1989 was skimmed slightly, and their entire electrical grid went out for 9 hours. So if this is an event that has happened, in fact, just a couple of months ago, 4 of them hit the Earth, but they didn't do much of anything other than cause the Aurora Borealis to be seen farther south.
Okay.
And they could also affect communications. We've seen that. They talk about sunspots. Well, all of this can affect communication, especially satellite-based communication. So the proposition of this book is that a coronal mass ejection of the level of at least a Carrington event, which is considered the worst, one of the worst at least, hits the Earth for 7 days straight. Basically, as the Earth's turn, another section of the Earth is getting hit by this CME. So it ends up taking everything out. Part of a CMA, you also get an magnetic pulse, which comes from like the atomic bombs. They talk about atomic bombs goes off, you have an EMP that goes out and wipes out everything electrical and computer based. So here we have the electromagnetic pulse, you have electrostatic discharge, and you have geomagnetic storms. So all of this hits the Earth for 7 days straight. Basically, everything having to do with electricity, every computer, which means every vehicle of any type, suddenly stops working. So all the trucks, ships at sea, planes flying, and of course, a jetliner, if it's flying and suddenly it loses power, they're bricks. So it's a flying brick.
What inspired you to write this story?
Well, back in 2016, I mean, I've been writing stories since 2007 and posting them online. This is actually the 20th. And there was a group of us who were going to write in what we called the Aptera Apocalypsis, all and posted online. The only thing is the others, 2 of them, I think, wrote part of chapter 1, but never went any farther. So we did all this research on CMEs to figure out what they could do to the Earth as it is now. So, and I ended up being the only one that wrote a story. So I continually wrote it. It took me a few years to write it. You know, writer's block and all that gets in the way.
Yeah.
And when I finished it, people were telling me, you know, this one, you should publish this one. I mean, I've had a lot of fans like a lot of my writing that I've done posted online, but a lot of people said, now this is one you should actually publish. So we did. It was originally a single story, but it was way too big. I mean, it would have made The Stand look small if we put it in one book. So we had to split it into a trilogy, and The Ripple Effect is the first book of the trilogy.
Okay. Very cool. And then who are the main characters and what drives them?
Well, main characters start in Lakewood, California, which is southeast LA County area. And they're in a metropolitan area. And so they're believing that if they don't get out of someplace like this within a week or so, something bad could happen, because when you can no longer have food, no longer fresh water, you have all these staples you need to survive, people are going to start taking it. So they decide to get out of there and head to where they think it would be safe. And the main characters are
Where do
Brian.
they go?
They go to Prado Dam Recreation Area in Corona, Chino area, because the father of one of the main characters, Brian Daly, and his wife Pam, who work at JPL, so they know about what CMEs can do. And then another is a SWAT sergeant from LA Sheriff's, and then their kids, and there's some kids who's in this neighborhood whose parents were off somewhere when everything hit and they didn't make it back home. So this group of people form a new family, and they head to the Prado Dam Recreation Area, to a stables that's owned by Brian's father, and that's Richard and Madeline Daly. And the problem with, another thing you have to think of, they were thinking this will be a safe place, until they realized within a few miles, there's the Chino women's prison and the Chino men's prison. And a lot of those prisons have electronic locking mechanisms. So when all the electricity is destroyed, the inmates get to get out. And there's more of them than there are guards, so they break out. So when they get there, find out some inmates from the women's prison has already attacked them once. So they get there, and Richard has a plan. He says that we have to get somewhere better. We have to get out of this entire area, anything from the Inland Empire to LA, Orange County, Ventura, that whole area, that old megalopolis. Got to get away from it. It's the safest too. So they make a plan to go to what was at that time known as the Orange Empire Railway Museum. I think it's now called the Southern California Railway Museum, which is in Paris. So they travel with a few vehicles that they've been able to get moving, and horses, to this place in Paris. And then they spend the next few weeks getting a steam engine train working and gathering cars and stuff to connect to it. And their eventual plan is to go to Jamestown, California, which is in the gold country, way up in the Sierra Nevadas. They figure it's far enough away from Sacramento, Stockton, all the big towns, that they should be able to be safe there. And that is the plan. They get this train going and they leave. But it takes a while for that to happen. It takes them some time. And while that's happening, local groups that are banding together, gangs basically, have banded together. There was a big fight among them, and then the top one is the one surviving, and they find out about these people, and they're thinking about, well, we want their stuff. So they have to fight them off. And that causes them to lose some people. And while they're there, they also find another group trying to do the same thing, be safe. And they all join together, again, making this huge extended family. And from them, they fight off the gangs, they win, and then they leave, and they head on their journey north, which is the name of the second book of the series, The Journey North.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Cool.
And so there's a lot of kids in it. Well, teenagers, not kids. Most of them are teens. I think the youngest is maybe 12 or so. So, and these are people whose parents never made it back home, because this is happening after school's out. So it's early summer. Parents didn't make home, and they're all alone. So a few adults who happen to be around, some include some teachers, of course, they're out of school now. So they put together their own family, of this extended family of all these people, and they go north. Now the adults, especially the SWAT sheriff, they're certain they have to train everybody. They have to teach everybody how to defend themselves. So the kids are trained how to shoot, how to protect themselves. One of the main kids, Garrett, he's a martial artist expert, and he teaches them martial arts. So they're all trained about how to protect themselves until they get safe.
Yeah, gotcha.
And Jamestown is where they think is safe.
Who's the protagonist?
I don't know if there's one. I mean, Brian Daly kind of starts it.
Okay.
He being at JPL and seeing what's going on.
Okay.
And his two sons, he's got twin sons. They're like in the early part of it. They're a lot of the thing. And then Mike Kilpatrick comes on. He's the SWAT sergeant.
Okay.
And so it kind of turns out, and eventually when they join Richard and Chino, then you've got three main adult characters, which is Richard, Brian, and Mike. Those are
Okay.
the three men in there, and they are kind of the guys that kind of guide everybody with the knowledge of what they have.
So you touched on this a little bit, but specifically, what are the main themes you're exploring in the book?
People working together to successfully make a better life for themselves, even in the face of harsh problems and dangerous situations. That if the people stick together and they support each other and work together, they can probably make it through. It'll be hard, and people could get hurt or even killed, but working together can get you so much farther than trying to do everything on your own.
And then how did the locations enhance the story? So you've got these different locations.
Well, with the train museum, there's all these trains and stuff that are there, and it's, you know, bringing this old train back to life, so to speak. And it's a steam train, so there is no electricity involved with it in that way. So you have these people working together, get this old steam train with old cars and, you know, old caboose and things like that, and getting them moving across the landscape in the West. It's an old steam train in the West. And I think that train museum is a really big part, especially of the first book. The train museum is a huge part of the first book.
Yeah. And
first, you've got the neighborhood in Lakewood that for the first week and a half, that's a big thing. And then you have the few days at the equestrian center at Prado Dam. Then finally, the big chunk is there at the train museum and in the areas of Paris where they have to go.
Okay. And then just as you were writing the book, what are some of the challenges you had?
There was a lot of times I knew where I wanted to get to, but I wasn't sure how to get there. So that was probably one of the harder things at times.
So how did you overcome that?
A lot of thinking, sitting down. I mean, I of course have visited all these areas. I know all these areas I've been to the train museum. I took lots of pictures when I was first thinking about it. Can you excuse me, let me get a glass of water or something? Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
So that's those places I think enhance it, and you know, but that was probably that there was times it was really hard to figure out how I'm going to get to the next spot, even though I knew where I needed to go. I mean, early on, I knew I was going from here to there, and I was going to get there, but it was all the in between.
Right.
And coming up with how it would work. And when they got to this place, is it going to be good people or is it going to be bad people?
Yeah.
So they have a mixture of things and they work it out.
How have your personal experiences shaped the narrative?
That's a good question. I don't know. It's not like I'm a cop, but I've had relatives and friends who've been police. So some of those I even asked questions. One of them, who was a SWAT lieutenant down in Orange County. I asked him some questions about SWAT and things like that.
For the Mike character?
Yeah, the Mike character. And his name is Mike too. He's
Oh,
known as
there you go.
Mr. Mike. So I kind of use that Mr. Mike. Some of the kids call him that, and it's from this friend of mine who is a SWAT officer.
What would you say is your main genre?
Science fiction, fantasy type stuff, I think, thrown with some supernatural stuff, but this is mostly science fiction.
And then how does your book differ from others in that genre?
Well, like I had a friend say, hey, you should figure out how a prequel of it is that aliens caused this. I said, no. That's not what I'm about. I'm about this, our world, how it could be changed by some event. And it's science fiction. I mean, yeah, it's a possibility. CMEs happen, they're real. They could cause some of this problem if we ever were hit by a Carrington event. But it's something that could really happen. Maybe not to this extent, but maybe it could, depending on how bad it was.
Right.
And it's people just working together.
Mm-hmm. Which authors or books influenced this book?
I'd have to say it's I don't know. There's no other books really that did so much. Although I've seen a lot of post-apocalyptic stuff. Of course, the whole Walking Dead thing. In fact, I had a few friends say, "Yeah, that's like Walking Dead without the walkers." Is what your book is like after they read it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've read all my life. I love so many books. I've loved so many authors. And I read online as well. And I find some really good authors there that come up with some really good ideas. I've read a few others that online that have this kind of apocalyptic thing or something changed like that. And I think it was just talking with these friends of mine who were other authors, online authors, and coming up with this idea. It's just like, well, that's an idea. It's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Instead of a meteor explodes or a nuclear war happens or a disease comes in that wipes out humanity, most of humanity. Here we've got a natural phenomena that could cause a problem like this.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more believable.
Yeah. And, I even had one review once, a guy said, well, it's not a great story, but it's a good story and the characters are believable. I mean, even though he didn't really like it that much, he still thought it was decent. So I thought, well, okay, I'll accept that.
That's funny. So you're talking about it a little bit, but what research did you have to do, especially for some of this science related stuff?
We did quite a lot of looking in and reading about CMEs. That's how I learned about the Carrington event and what happened back in 1859 when it hit. It was called Carrington after the British scientist who wrote a story about it, or not a story, an article about it. And
Okay.
it became known as the Carrington event because of him.
Okay.
And we had to find out, about like the Montreal thing, about them losing all their power just because they were skimmed by one.
Okay.
And looking into the effects of it, which is how we found out about the electrostatic discharge, the electromagnetic pulse, geomagnetic storms, how it would affect the aurora borealis, how it could affect the weather, could actually affect the weather patterns. So I've added things that might not normally happen because of that kind of research. We even went to the point of getting an estimate how many people would die within 1 year, within 2 years, 5 years. We figured by 5 years, after this, almost half the population would probably die. Because you have all the people that require certain medications that they're going to run out of. And all the people on ventilators, well, they're dying quick. All those people that need ventilators, oxygen, things to survive, they're going to die quick.
So wait, in the ripple effect, how long is the time frame where the power or the grid is out? It's out permanently?
It's out permanently because the CME takes it out since it's hitting the earth continually for 1 week. 7 days of continuously being bathed every single day. It keeps wiping out the electrical grid to the point that there is no electrical grid. I mean, things like transformers explode, substations explode.
Oh, okay.
And there's no way to fix those. because you
Okay.
can't manufacture anything because factories no longer work.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Okay.
what happens a lot is we go back 100 years
Yeah.
for the most part in technology.
How do you envision your book on the screen? Movie, TV show?
I think, like a short series TV show, I think, rather than a full-on movie.
Hmm.
And it would encompass all three books. That's the only
Oh,
way you
okay.
can see the whole story, of course, because one book is not the whole story itself. This
Hmm.
one is just the beginning, the first
What's
one.
what's the third one called?
It's called The End of the Beginning.
Okay.
And that's based off Churchill's speech in November 1942, just after um, uh, the British beat the German Afrika Korps at El Alamein. And somebody said something, well, this is the end. He says, no, this is not the end. This is not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning.
Hmm.
So that's why I named it that. It's the end of the beginning of the problem. Now we start trying to bring society back.
Yeah, I gotcha. What are some of the key scenes you feel are crucial for an adaptation?
The initial scenes, like at JPL,
Okay.
kind of because you've got the scientists figuring out, hey, something's going wrong. We got a problem, including like a round table of world leaders. Then the scenes there in Lakewood as they're starting to gather the people in Lakewood there and getting ready and to leave Lakewood. And they, in fact, get attacked by a group of people, attack one of the families, and they take care of that and gathering all the supplies they need and getting out of there. Then the next ones are the scenes at the Prado Dam Equestrian Center, where they're having to deal with the women's prison and the inmates from there who are trying to attack them and kill them and take their stuff. And then a lot of scenes at the train. I mean, getting the train, a train museum, getting the train ready, getting all the cars hooked up ready, the practicing that as they teach everyone how to protect themselves, and then meeting another group of people that they actually have to save and get them and bring them into the fold to be part of the family.
Okay.
And then the big attack where that local gang try to take what they got.
Hmm.
And then they have to, then from there, the final escape and leaving Paris and heading north.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, and then what impact do you hope your story has on readers and viewers?
Well, number one, I hope they really enjoy it and they get a feel of, a little bit of adventure away, they use their imagination and imagine what that's like.
Hmm. Everyone is so spoiled now.
I know, I get that.
It's so rough. If you don't have internet for 5 minutes, you start to panic.
Yeah,
We're,
yeah.
we're
I
gonna
know,
be
I
in a
understand.
really if there is a ripple effect, it'll be a disaster really fast. I'm laughing
Right.
because it's sad.
Yeah, I know, because it's so true. That's why, like I say on the back of the book, I say, how would you make it through something where you suddenly lose all of this? Satellites gone, electricity gone, computers gone.
Eric, you know what would be
They're not
funny?
coming back.
If your book was just based on everything happens in your book the same way, but the only difference is people don't have Wi-Fi for 7 days. It's still as extreme as
I know.
it's extreme as what you're describing. It's just no Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
No
but
Wi-Fi in California. Could you imagine?
I know that it
There's
would
gangs,
definitely go
there's
down.
trains. It's
It would,
insane. All right,
yeah,
cool.
because you think because part of that, everybody's money is gone.
Oh yeah, I
No
know.
one has any money
Yeah.
anymore because it's all electronic
There's
now.
some people who are relishing this. The preppers, they get
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, those people are all about it. And the third world countries that don't have as big an infrastructure, they'll probably do okay for the most part.
Yeah, definitely. And then everybody's so comfortable, but how do you think your story would connect with contemporary audiences?
I think because of there's been so many apocalyptic type things.
Yeah.
I think people would like it because yeah, it's another one, but it's a different take on it. You know, like that whole Walking Dead thing, and they've got like so many different Walking Deads. It seems to be people like that.
Oh
They
yeah.
like seeing
The whole
people's
zombie
trouble.
thing is so weird.
Yeah, the whole zombie thing. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the zombie thing. Mine has no zombies, but oh well.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of adventure. It's got teenagers stepping up, having to, I think for them they would like that part. The teenagers, young adults would like that part where these people have big parts. I mean, they have to step up and not
Yeah.
just be little kids anymore.
Yeah,
And
that's
they
cool.
have to overcome things to make it.
Yeah, yeah, that's a cool concept. Well, you already discussed the sequels and spin-offs. So did you mention earlier that you've done 20 books?
I've done 20 stories
Oh,
online.
20 stories. Okay.
20 stories online. This was the 20th
Okay.
that I
So
wrote.
this is the 20th, and then the 20th is divided into the
3
ripple
books.
effect, Journey North, and the end of the
Of the
beginning.
beginning, yes.
That's all the 20th story.
That's all the 20th story.
Okay. And then you have stories after that?
I have
Yeah.
stories before, nothing after it yet. I'm
Okay.
working on that stuff.
Yeah.
I've already had people ask me, well, what's
Yeah.
the 4th book?
What's
I don't
taking
know
so
yet.
long? Yeah.
Yeah, what's taking so long? Where's the 4th book?
I can't even imagine writing a book, so congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And then when I got word that they
I only
won,
write something long now if I'm upset with somebody. I just write a really long email. I'm like, feel winded. This is a lot of text. All right, cool.
Right.
What's you mentioned something, somebody didn't hate your book, so that felt good. But what's some of the more memorable feedback you got from readers?
Well, there's a company called Book Viral that looked at all 3 of them, and every one of their reviews were really good. I mean, it's they praised the way I did it, how I didn't like fall into some little cliche of a post-apocalyptic, how it's different. So they did one on each of the 3 books, and it was really good. And the way they say it, yeah, I have to contract with them to do it, but they look at it, and if they don't think it's worth their time, they'll send you your money back.
Oh,
So
really?
the fact that they didn't think that they thought it was worth their time to do all 3 and give me a really good review on all 3 of them. And I've had like on Amazon, I think I'm 4.5 out of 5. And I've only got a few reviews, but I've got more, just ratings without the reviews. But all except for that one guy on Amazon that called it meh, saying it was a good story, not a great story, and everything was believable. But the others were all, this is a great story. I'm telling all my friends, and I can't wait to read the next one, that kind of stuff. And so that made me feel good.
Yeah, I bet. How long did we already talk about this? I don't think so. How long did it actually take to write the report?
2017 to 20, so it was what, 5 years, 6 years, 5 or 6 years it took to write. I know.
Oh my
And
God.
it was the longest it took me. I mean, I've had other stories I've written that took me 5 years, 4 or 5 years to write. Some of them, I had a short story I wrote in 8 hours once.
Yeah.
Like I woke up 2 a.m. with this idea. I started writing. I went to work. I continued writing at work between doing my work. And then I finished it by 4 that afternoon.
Oh, that's cool. Well, that's that's an anomaly, right?
Yeah, that's an anomaly. I mean, I've had them take, less than a year, some of my multi-chapter short stories, but most of my longer ones usually take 3 years minimum.
Do you have a set time that you write, or a certain time during the day, or how do you?
No, I don't. It's more like when I have something, hardest part, I hate it when I get the writer's block and I'm just sitting there, okay, where do I go? How do I get this? How do I keep this moving? And then I sit down, and then I'll get to a point where I get a flow going and the characters are talking to me. And I find there's so many times my stories have gone in a different direction because in my mind, the characters are telling me how they would do this.
Yeah, you're letting
it
playing out, and you're kind of just watching it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Organically, rather than trying to control it.
Right. And it just works sometimes. Sometimes it just really works well. It's like, I can't stop writing. It's just write. And then I look, oh, I got to get to bed. I got to go to work tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So then
Well,
I'll
that's cool.
go on and I'll pick it up the
That's
next
what
day.
you hope for every day.
Exactly. That's what I hope for. And I'm retiring from work in about 8 months. And at that
Yeah.
time, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to write more.
What do you do for work right now?
I am a imaging informatics professional
Oh,
for
okay.
a large trauma center here in LA County. So
Yeah.
I take care of all the radiology computer systems.
Yeah. Nice. Well, congrats on your upcoming retirement.
Yeah, I can't wait.
You're hoping that you're just flowing with stories after that.
I'm hoping that when I don't have to work, I'm not have to deal with anything at work, I'll have the time to really sit down and write. Because there's a lot
That's
of times
so
I'm
cool.
at work and the idea comes, I start writing it. I write at work quite a bit. I've done that a
Yeah.
few times. And it's
Yeah.
just because it's like, I got to get this down right now. And then I
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
that flow going and it's like, oh shoot, I got to go run this report. So I stop, run the report,
Oh my
or I'll
gosh.
run the report and I'll write. But
It's just real life. Yeah. No, I
yeah,
get it.
it just happens. And
Yeah.
I
You don't
really
want to miss
love it
it.
when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I have a similar experience with like music. If I'm listening, like I like to write music, like write
Which
lyrics.
I think is awesome. So I love music. And
So
that
for
you
me,
can
it's so
write
much
it,
easier.
that's awesome.
Yeah, but like if I have to change a verse like 2 or 3 times, I'm like, ah, this song, I'm done with this song. I can't do this. This is like 30 minutes max. So the
Uh-huh.
idea of working on like something for 5 years. Congratulations on the retirement. Okay, one aspect you would change in the ripple effect. Anything you would change at this point?
I think because of what the kids have to do, I think I could have done a better job. I'm like every writer, you always think, oh yeah, I could have done this bit, this could have been. I think I should have done more with the kids' thoughts of what they had to do and what they had to go through. I think more of their thought process and their introspection and how that stuff hits them. And I
Mhm.
kind of touch on it a few times,
Yeah,
but I think I could have done more of that, and it might have made it a little better. Could have made it worse too. I'm not sure. I
yeah,
just know that everything I write, there's always that in the back of my mind. Well, I should have done this, or I could have done
oh yeah,
this. I could have
yeah,
added this.
yeah. Yeah, it's tricky. I gotcha. Um, yeah, it's a lot of male authors are like always saying how difficult it is to do the thoughts of a female,
Right,
do
right.
that inner dialogue.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh,
So,
so yeah, it would be hard to, we're all like kids at heart, we're all kids getting old, but yeah,
at
it's
least
hard
we
to
should
like
be.
tap back into that like state of mind and kind of
Right.
like capture it properly. I think of like the movie Stand By Me. It has
Oh
like
yeah,
that nostalgic, childlike, but they're getting pushed into a uncomfortable place, and
right.
so yeah, that movie did really well with that.
I think
Uh,
it. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
So, what are some comparable movies or TV shows? So, let's say your book is adapted. They watch something, and then yours is recommended. What's that something that they would have watched?
Well, it would. Of course, it would be one of the apocalyptic type things. I would think that would be the only thing that'd be close to it. Um,
What was that one? Was it called Volcano? It's like a volcano under LA.
yeah, that was Volcano was the one. Well, there was Volcano. Was that the one that was up with Pierce Brosnan?
I
Or
don't
was
know.
that the one with Tommy Lee Jones here in LA where the
I think it's
volcano?
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, the Tommy Lee Jones out of LA, the volcano that comes out of the La Brea tar
Yeah.
pits.
Slightly far-fetched.
Slightly far-fetched. Yeah, they're really hot, but are they going to be lava?
Yeah. It's all right. So not that one, but what would be another maybe like a movie or TV show?
Um, I would say in a way, a little bit of The Walking Dead would
Yeah,
have
you
to.
brought that one up. Yeah.
I brought that
Because,
one up.
and the main
It-
reason you bring that up is just like because of the breakdown of systems.
yeah, and it's because
Oh,
of that. It's such a break, and it's a group of people trying to still be okay when the systems break down. And
yeah.
another, even though so many people, like every time you hear it, people hate it, was The Postman with Kevin Costner back in the 80s, where he's the postman who rides around getting the mail service going again. Everybody panned that movie. I have always liked it. For one, I like Kevin Costner, period.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're a Kevin Costner fan, he can do no wrong.
Yeah, I know, it's really hard. I mean, yeah, Waterworld still kind of sucked, but
Yeah.
it's okay, but
I watched it as a kid, so I wasn't that critical about it.
right, yeah. And I saw Postman when it came out, and I thought, this is kind of cool. And it was
Yeah.
that one is a one that's even closer, I think, than Walking Dead,
Okay.
because it talks about total breakdown of humanity, of
Yeah.
all the systems. There's nothing, and there's these gangs gritting together, and there's these other people trying to be safe and working together to a
This
better
100.
future.
This happens like on day two of a, because I was in. Were you in LA during the? Well, you have the
The LA riots.
Northridge earthquake. We
Yeah.
also, I mean, it's a different situation with the riots, but definitely with the earthquake, there's some semblance of people working together in the
Right.
initial phase, but then I do think that, if it continued, if people were kind of like down and out longer,
Right.
I think the social fabric, it dissolves really fast.
And I think that's the point with this, is
Yeah.
because
I saw that firsthand.
with the electrical out, water
Mhm.
pumps don't work. So what happens? No water.
Yeah,
Food's not being delivered.
yeah.
Stores aren't open. So yeah, I think with the first few days, yeah, it's pretty safe. And I don't even have any problems really with my group until a few days into that first week while it's hitting.
Yeah, once it settles in. Yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
also with COVID when people were panicking for toilet paper and paper towel. There's
Right.
some people panicking they were rushing for that. There was other people rushing to get guns and bullets. There's like two
Right.
groups. Maybe there were three groups, but those kind of the main groups in my mind. There's like the toilet paper, paper towel group, and then the
Right.
people getting bullets and guns who are gonna go get the paper towels and toilet
Right.
paper from those people.
Or to protect themselves from
Or
stuff.
protect themselves from people. I know, it's just
I
yeah,
mean,
we
I
got a
got friends
little
that,
like a taste of what that feeling was like when you
right.
went into like a grocery store and we
Mhm.
just take it all for granted. And
Right.
then the news kept kind of saying, which is kind of like zombie apocalypse, almost like
Right.
word on the street is zombies are attacking. There's kind of like that buildup in the news, and then eventually the
Mhm.
newscaster or the news station is taken over, and then you're like, oh wow, this is really scary. There was kind of that buildup during COVID where like paper towels and toilet paper are like starting to disappear, and you're like, it'll be okay. But then a couple days in, you're like, oh, this is weird. The grocery store actually is not stocking anymore. That was a weird
That
feeling.
was one of the strangest things, is going to a grocery store and seeing empty shelves
We take it
of
very
stuff.
for granted, yeah. So it kind of reminds me of your book, that like feeling that starts to, ease in and it becomes surreal.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. I think that pretty much covers everything on my end.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Anything else you want to throw out there?
No, I don't think so. I think you asked all the questions that covered what I think of this and how it would go.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bye.